So this is a new Viessmann 100W. This one's the B1KF, which is the combi version. The system boiler is the B1HF. It's got touchscreen display, flexible condense, pressure gauge underneath. Also got pressure gauge on the front of the boiler. Just by pressing the menu button we can cycle through whether we want eco for the hot water on and off. We can set the flow temperature. We can also set the hot water temperature up to a maximum of 60. Underneath here, two little holes. We can just jab something up each side. Get the cover off. Stainless steel heat exchanger. Apparently it's one grade down from medical steel, so it's about the best stainless steel you'll find in the boiler. We've got modulating pump there. You've got the PRV, which connects straight into the condense trap, so we don't have to do a separate pipe for the PRV. You've got these two connections on the end for the weather sensor, and then here then is the PCB. And on the second plug is where you can wire in the external controls. So if you've got a room stat, they can go into that second plug there. You've got copper tubes coming from the heat exchanger, and with some of the older models there's rubber tubes that used to get blocked up. We have got quite a lot of this composite plastic inside there, but I've heard that it doesn't leak, so it's maybe a good thing. Loads of room to work. Expansion vessel shraders on the underneath of the vessel, easy to get to. Really sturdy front panel. This is how to use your Viessmann Vitodens 100W. You'll see on the screen the temperature of the radiators. We can use the up and down buttons. The higher the temperature, the quicker the house will heat up, but the less efficient the boiler will be. The lower the temperature, the slower the house will heat up, but the much more efficient the boiler will then be. We can cycle through the options by pressing the menu, and we can also alter the temperature of the hot water coming out of the taps by once again pressing the up and down arrows. 60 degrees is the maximum this will go to, because any higher will burn your skin. So I'm just going to keep it down at 50. You can alter it as much as you want. This will show you the system pressure. If the pressure drops below 1 bar, you will need to top it up. There's also a pressure gauge under the boiler, and this is the filling loop here. These two black levers connected by the little copper pipe. If you open the one lever, then open the other one, the pressure will rise, and we can turn the levers back off. This is eco mode. If we turn the eco mode off, the hot water will heat up quicker, reach the taps quicker, but it will burn a little bit more gas. The customer's app now for using the boiler. So you just see, you can see the flow temperature, the system pressure, whether the pump's on and off, flue gas temperature, burner status, how many hours the burner's been running in total, how many times the boiler started, what modulation the boiler currently is at. So we've got the radiator flow temperature, the hot water temperature. So this is the Vicare app. So now we've got the weather comp connected, and we can go into the heating curve, and we can alter the heating curve up or down. So it's the standard set at 1.4, which means that when it's 10 degrees outside, the rads will be 40 degrees. When it's 0, the rads will be 53. When it's 20, it'll be 23. If the house isn't very well insulated, we can knock this up. So if it's 10 degrees, we'd have 60 degrees flow temperature, and we'd have maximum temperature as it gets into the minuses. So ideally, the lower we can set this, with the customer still being comfortable, the more efficient the boiler will be. Now we can also offset the level if we want the same curve. We can also do the heating time assistance. So if you're going to use the clock inside the boiler, it's really good because it'll help everything turn on at the right time. So it's asking, what temperature do you like? Now every 1 degree temperature higher generally uses 5% more gas. So they say. So the lower we can set this, the better. And the away temperature tends to be set at 3 degrees, anti-freezing, but I tend to set it a little bit higher. And then it can go ahead then, and we can select what days we want to set and do the times for. So we can have it, it'll ask you what time should it become warm in the morning, and will you be away or at home, and then what time do you normally go to sleep. Then we'll see then we've set our temperatures for the day and the night. It's the commissioning app. So we connect to the boiler using the QR code. So we can commission boiler. So we got the 1 series. It's going to ask us to reset the device. It'll tell us how to do it. So we're going to do this until we get the AP come up. There we go, the AP. So we'll continue now. Connected. So we can do as we fill in the system, we can use the filling. If we want to vent the system, we can do the venting. It'll tell us how long it's been venting for. Now the pump will run on and off every 30 seconds to allow air to come out. So once we're happy with vented, we can continue on to the next one. So we can set whether we want to do weather comp, or we can just use the room stats, or we can use the internal clock of the boiler using the app. We can change the date and the time, the flue length, the name of your installer. It's going to check the flue gas sensor inside the boiler while we're doing this. We can also do some extra commissioning here. So we can change various things within the menu. So we can do additional settings as well. So we can set the flow temperature, we can change the time programs. We can change the maximum speed of the pump depending on the size of the heating system. We can change the temperature of the hot water up and down. To set at 50, and the customer can turn it up and down if they want then. Also we can, if we want to modulate the boiler down, we can change this. And we can also bring the reminder up for the annual service. If it's underfloor heating and this fresh screed, it's also got the screed drying. And what's really good now is once you've done this, it'll actually give you a PDF file to send to the customer. So it'll tell us all the information that we've we've put in, and then this then can be sent off to the customer. Nice little touch. And we can also set holiday mode, or if we're at home where we'd normally at work, we can select that, and we can tell the app how long we're at home for or away for. It's the new vitodens 100. Quick run through of the menus. On the front, we can cycle through if the weather comp's set up, we can set the indoor temperature using the up and down arrows. We can then cycle across to the hot water temperature. This will go up to a maximum of 60 degrees. We can have a look at what the system pressure is, and we can turn the eco function on or off. If the eco function is off, then the hot water will heat up quicker, it'll get the taps quicker, but it will burn a little bit more gas. If we hold the menu button for 4 seconds, we'll bring up the P menus. Now P1, what we've got here is heating circuit 1. This is the nighttime temperature and the daytime temperature. P2, you can bring up all the information menus. So D1 is the outdoor sensor temperature. D2 is the flow temperature. D3 is the pump speed in percent. So the pump's off, so it's at 0%. D4 is the flue gas temperature. D5 is how many hours the burners run for in total. D6 is the burner output. Obviously the burner's off, so we're on 0. D7 is the diverter valve position. So number 2 means it's in a hot water position. D8 is the serial number of the boiler. D9 again is the flow temperature. D10 would be if we got the second circuit, so it doesn't matter. D11 is the hot water temperature. So we go to P3 is the heating curve, so we can go to heating curve 1. So this is the weather comp heating curve. So the better the building is insulated, the lower that number can be. So this is so if we have a look at the graph, if we look at the outdoor temperature, if we look at 10 degrees, if we follow on the graph 10 degrees, if we've got the slope at 1.4, the radiators will be just over 30 degrees, and the higher the slope we set, so if we had the slope all the way up to 3.4, at 10 degrees, our radiators would be about 60 degrees. So the lower we can set the slope, the better, the less gas the boiler will use. We can also change the offset. So 0 is if we want the rooms to be about 20 degrees, but we can also, if we want the rooms to be warmer, we can change the offset, or if we want the rooms to be cooler, we can change the offset back. So this is generally in degrees, so we have 21 degrees, 22, and then 19, 18, etc. In P4 we can set up the time program. So we can cycle through and we can set what times and temperatures we want it on and off, but it's a lot easier using the Vicare app. So we're just going to press the menu button to get back out of this one. P5 is the brightness of the display, so we can always dim the display if we want. We're going to leave it nice and bright. There's also standby mode. We can turn this on and off, which is just the display. It'll dim after 2 minutes. P7 is the internet information. P9 is the light guide. So when the boiler goes into standby mode, you'll have a little dot flashing in the middle of the boiler. we can knock this off if we want. And then P10 is if we want to set the date, so it's 23rd of the 12th, 21. And P11 is if we want to set the time, it's now 4:04. So now we've disconnected the weather comp, so if we just use the up and down arrows we can set the temperature of the radiators. The higher this number is, the more heat we're going to lose out of the flue, and the less the boiler is going to recover that heat by condensing. We can go into the data menu, P2. So we've got the outdoor temperature if we've got a weather sensor fitted. Now this is showing 71 degrees because we've got the wrong weather sensor fitted. We fitted a 1 kiloohm Siemens weather sensor which works on the other boilers like the Artex and the Baxi, but apparently you need a 10 kiloohm Viessmann sensor for this boiler. We can access the commissioning menu by going to B5. Then if we hold the menu button for 4 seconds, we're going to have the commissioning menu. So C1 is filling, so when we're filling the system we run C1, which will allow the pump to run, so we can cycle between on and off. Now this will show the pressure, and it will also run the pump, and this will run for 20 minutes unless we get out of it by holding the menu button. Now C2 is the air purge, which will cycle the pump on and off every 30 seconds. So once we fill the system we need to run the air purge. So again we can stick it on or off. Now the pump will run on and off every 30 seconds for 20 minutes. And make sure the automatic air vent is open inside the boiler when we're doing this. So again we can get out of it by holding 4 seconds. So C3 is whether we've got natural gas or LPG. So number 2 is natural gas. C5 is the type of flue we've got. C6 is the length of the flue in meters. Now C7 is how we want the boiler to work for the heating. So whether we want to run it using the weather comp and the onboard computer, or whether we want to use external control, or whether we want to use weather comp with the external control. So we'll just go into this one now. So number 1 is for the boiler to work using the internal clock. Number 4 is for weather comp and using the internal clock. 13 is if you've got external control like a Honeywell, you can use number 13. 14 is if you've got a thermostat that does open therm, which means the boiler will modulate depending on the return temperature. Right, we need to use C8 if we're using a low loss header, or if we've got different heating zones, or if we're using mixed heating circuits. So we're just going to have this on number 1, which is just one zone with no low loss header. C10 is there's another plug inside the boiler. We can plug into different things so we can tell the boiler what that plug is actually doing. C11 we can set the date and the day, so it's the 23rd of the 12th 21 today. C13 is automatic daylight saving on and off. C14, that's the plug in the boiler which we connect the thermostat up to, and we can also use it for different things. It's called plug 96, so we could use it for circulating pumps, external demand, external blocking. Now if we go back into C7 and then we do set it to the weather comp, then it will open up the extra menu, which is C9. Then we can tell the boiler whether we've got an indoor thermostat as well, which would be number 1, or if you haven't, which is 0, and also if we had extra zones, it would open up further options on this menu.